This story begins 70 years ago in the home of Dorman and Ethel Sutton and their 2 sons, where a baby named Wyatt was born. Even from the start, he filled the family with love and joy and showed a creative ability seen his whole life. His musical interests blossomed in high school. He discovered an interest in guitar when he started college. Another discovery in college was a pretty southern girl and future missionary named Yana. Because of Wyatt's interest in missions and also his interest in the young lady, they were married after Yana graduated from college. After 2 years of marriage, Wyatt graduated from college with a Bachelor of Sacred Music in New Jersey, where they both worked in education, Wyatt teaching music and Yana with special education. At the same time, they were able to serve as the youth leaders in Bethlehem Church, which became their sending church. Their love for the Lord and for service led them to reawake their interest in missions. Through prayer and searching, they began to see where the Lord would use them. After a time of training and preparation, they were accepted with the Central American Mission, now called Camino Global. They were commissioned to teach music and English at a Christian boarding school in the mountains of Honduras. In June of 1974, they said goodbye to their family to learn Spanish in San Jose, Costa Rica. They arrived in Minas de Oro, Honduras, in August of 1975 to start their ministry. Their life in Minas de Oro was different from what they were used to. They experienced many things living in a very rural setting. No lights, poor communication, limited food. But they were happy at last to be serving the Lord where they were needed in the town of Minas de Oro. These years were full of satisfaction and achievement. Wyatt started the school band that marched every year over the stone-paved roads of Minas, and eventually in several towns throughout Honduras. It was there that Wyatt, with the help of Reynaldo Moncada, learned how to make guitars. Good guitars were just too expensive to buy for the average person. After 9 years in Minas de Oro, the Lord led Wyatt and Yana to a different ministry in the capital of Honduras, Tegucigalpa. There, they made contact with former band members and started a music ministry called Maná. Also in Tegucigalpa, Wyatt, with Yana's help, started a choir, also called Maná, that became a service to the church throughout Honduras. With that choir, their credibility grew in all the Camino churches. At the mission's centennial in Honduras, Wyatt directed a 300-voice choir accompanied by instrumentalists from various churches throughout the country. In 1996, Wyatt was named Director of Urban Church Planning with the purpose of starting churches in the cities. In that position, Wyatt and Yana and missionary Vivian Torkelson started a church in El Sitio, a neighborhood outside of Tegucigalpa. A year later, they helped start a church in Cantoral, a very rural town an hour from Tegucigalpa. They traveled each Sunday and Thursday night to evangelize and teach spiritual growth. Years later, this church constructed their own building and even sent a student to the Honduras Bible School. Wyatt and Yana were invited to the inauguration, where Wyatt baptized the new believers. They were even given the title of church founders in that location. Looking back, they realized that this was one of the most exciting times in their ministry. Wyatt used his interest in model airplanes as a means of relaxation and also as a tool to make contacts with non-believers. Because of the hobby, Wyatt had the opportunity of sharing the gospel with people who had never understood Christ's forgiveness. He was privileged to see people turn to Jesus even in the parking lots of airfields. The time in Tegucigalpa was also frustrating. Wyatt's asthma, which kept him out of the Vietnam War, was threatening to take him and Yana out of Honduras. They decided to spend what could well be their last years in Honduras preparing musicians for the work. For this reason, Wyatt started to work at the Honduras Bible School, teaching students the basic tools needed to direct music in their churches. It was a one-year program called the Vocational School of Sacred Music. And for this reason, they moved to the town of Siguatepeque, in the center of Honduras. 1 year in the music school, Wyatt taught 3 of his students how to make guitars. The goal of all these efforts was to produce replacements for Wyatt should he have to leave Honduras at the end of 5 years. 24 years later, the music school continues producing musicians for the church and has become known throughout Honduras and Central America with students from Belize, Panama, and Costa Rica. As you may have guessed, Wyatt's health improved in Siguatepeque. In 1992, an Italian diplomat motivated the production of the opera La Traviata. Because of Wyatt's experience with opera in college, he was asked to direct the opera chorus and even sing a small part. The decision was easy. Wyatt was the only choir director in Honduras at the time with opera experience. This was the first opera ever produced by Central Americans. The same year, Wyatt and Yana started a marching band in the Christian high school in Siguatepeque. The band prospered well there, but Wyatt saw the need to open the band up for all interested students and not just the one school. Bethel Church opened its doors to allow the band to practice there without cost. That's how the current band, called Planting and Harvesting, was started. The city authorities adopted this band as its official town band that plays at every civil function. The band has played for 4 of the country's presidents, and each year the band heads up the Independence Day parade. As well as starting the band and music school, Wyatt saw the need to equip local congregations in several areas. This prompted him to travel throughout Honduras giving evangelism classes, music seminars, and song leading classes. At times, Yana was also able to help with the music clinics. Small groups of the band sometimes traveled to participate in church programs and special events. In 2003, Wyatt and Yana started a children's choir in the local church. The choir was used for performing, musical training, and discipling of the members. 3 operettas were written and performed with these children. As the children grew, so did the choir. It finally became a choir with entire families participating. Wyatt and Yana were not able to have children, but the Lord has provided a whole family of kids that consider them their parents. They're our family, and of course, there's now a collection of grandchildren. Through the years of service, Wyatt and Yana have changed, along with the people they've ministered to. As they've aged in serving the Lord, they've grown in experience and abilities in the work. Retirement is not a consideration while there's so much to do, and they have the ability to get it done. Theirs is a testimony of the blessing of being in Honduras and following the Lord's will. 40 years in August. They feel they're at home in Honduras. It is their desire to equip new generations as leaders in music, evangelism, and serving the Lord. The ministry of music discipleship has been a blessing to the community, the church, as well as the students. What a joy it has been to be used. Thank you to those that have made this possible.